Okay, this is the Board of Adjustments. We're gonna call the, meeting to order. Approve the minutes from the September 13th, 2022, the last meeting. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from the September 13th, 2022?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minutes from the September meeting.
Here a second.
I'll second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, we're gonna do number 3, hold a public hearing to discuss and consider request by James Allridge for the approval of a variance from the zoning code section 155.24 to reduce the required side setbacks from 10 foot to 5 foot and the platted rear setback from 25 foot to 15 foot on property known as Mount Pleasant City Blocks 153, Lot Part 1A and 1B, acres 8.78, also known as Bandera Estates Phase 2, BOA-2023-1B.
Good afternoon, members. Probably a few of you might remember, we kind of did this back in April of this year. The only thing is we didn't ask for the rear setbacks. So when we were originally interpreting the way the ordinance was written, because it was zoned multifamily, we just assumed they got the rear setback, which is 15 foot in multifamily. But after going through everything and actually it was inquired about by a title company, we realized it needed to come back to the Board of Adjustments. And so the other reason why we're asking for, that's for the 15 foot setback on the rear. The reason why we brought the side setbacks back was because on our last meeting, we didn't have a quorum. It was approved by a vote of 3-0, which by our ordinance, you're supposed to have at least 4 members. So in order to clean that up, we figured we'd just bring it all back and go through it once again today and just get a final approval on everything. So just to kind of refresh your memory, this is Bandera Estates right here. I've kind of highlighted the setbacks, which states 25 foot setbacks as the platted rear build line. But if you look like this lot, this lot, this lot, there's this lot, this lot, this lot. There's, if you require that 25 foot setback, there's no way James can build the product he wants to build, which is a single story, about a 1,500 square foot home with a 2-car garage. And actually, I don't know if you've driven out, there's actually about 4 houses that are built out there currently. So in order to build the product that he needs to build, he needs a setback. And instead of going through and doing each lot one at a time, we figured we'd just reduce it for the entire subdivision. So we're just asking that the board approve the side setbacks to 5 foot and the rear setbacks to 15 foot, from 25 to 15.
Is that on the whole subdivision?
Yeah, it'll basically be for these, I think it's 32 lots or whatever it is here. It'll be for the whole thing. So the rear setback will be 15 foot for all properties within the subdivision.
I don't have an issue particularly with this, except for one thing. Are we opening the door for, we can't deny this in the future, is this gonna change the city policy? Or is it gonna, as I say, open the door so that any and everyone can change lot dimensions, setback dimensions?
No, it's not typical. One of the things is the subdivision was actually started about 3 years ago. So there was, and I started here about 2.5 years ago, and David came in actually in September. So there's been, through the process, this has kind of been through several hands. And so there's been some kind of hiccups along the way. But no, I don't think it opens the door. He does have some unique characteristics in the subdivision, like these tiny lots with these small setbacks. So based on the ordinance, it is allowed for unique characteristics to a lot. But I don't see this becoming a normal thing or something common. Another thing too is, and I've worked in several municipalities, a 25-foot rear setback is a big setback. Most municipalities do not have a 25-foot rear setback. They're usually a lot smaller than that. But normally what will happen, and then I guess David could probably speak to this, is when they go back to the planning and zoning process and they go back through platting, if they need to reduce them, those are some of the things they'll look at that time. But based on lot size, required minimum lot sizes, they shouldn't need to reduce setbacks.
Okay, So, I mean, this is just because the lot, the shapes of the lot is why you're doing this.
Yeah, it's the shapes of the lot, and for whatever reason, he was approved with some fairly small lots, which are it's mostly these three, this one, and this one, and this one. So for whatever reason, like I said, this was started before I got here or David got here. This plat was kind of preliminary approved with this configuration. So we're just trying to clean it up at this point.
So are these lots zoned single-family or multifamily?
They're actually zoned multifamily, but it's a single family use, but they are zoned multifamily. But single family homes are allowed in multifamily use.
Do what now?
Yes, it is zoned multifamily, but it's being used as a single family use.
Okay. So why wasn't it zoned single-family whenever you,
Because single family is allowed in multifamily. The way our zoning works, it's, how do you say it? Cumulative zoning. And so what's allowed in this one may be allowed in this one, may be allowed in this one, and so forth. And it's kind of an old way of doing zoning, but unfortunately, we're going through the process currently to kind of clean this up. But the way it's currently written, it would be allowed in multifamily. This use would be.
so I could buy a lot and put a duplex there if I wanted to?
No, the lots would be too small. The way they're currently platted out right here, the duplex, it wouldn't fit.
Oh, okay. Okay, I didn't know it was zoned multifamily. But I was sure when I did that. All right, has anybody got any questions?
The only question I have is that when he originally purchased this land, knowing it was to be developed and platted out, wonder why this wasn't discovered then, or was it just approved for convenience early? In other words, I'm surprised that you get this far and discover this problem. And is there no way, obviously there's not, to combine lots, not the way they're laid out here, wouldn't help you any for the setback, but it's just, maybe early on, there should have been a little, on his part, should have been a little more thought put into size of lots and locations like the small lot on the end. But again, it's his property and it's his decision.
And one of the things too is that when the original subdivision was done and it was zoned multifamily, it was under the understanding that it would it would be allowed the same setbacks as a multifamily zoning district, and then we come to find out that that's actually not the case. And so that's one of the reasons he's coming tonight. Also, I was talking to David. He was saying if you guys want to just call out the individual lots that were, the smaller lots for the variances, you can do that too, rather than the whole subdivision. That's up to you.
Well, if you do that, we'll be right back in here next week. James is gonna want them all, which I don't blame him, So, from my perspective, I'd rather do it complete, the whole subdivision. It's just that I sure hate to see, not me, but whoever's sitting here next year, and some guy comes in and says, well, you did that for whomever before. So I'm a little more concerned about the city's guidelines and adhering to those guidelines. Everybody, across the board. I don't really have an issue with this. That's not the problem, but it's just, that's why we have code, to standardize and public safety. So if we're gonna do that, I just wanna make sure we do it equally, universally across the board.
On the list of property owners in the neighborhood, were there any complaints?
No, sir, we didn't get any responses. We didn't get nobody voted for or against it. Nobody even inquired about it.
Yeah, we can open up for a public to speak. Okay, nobody here, so we'll close the public hearing. And do I hear a motion to approve the variance for Bandera Estates?
I make a motion, we approve it, the Bandera Estate as presented.
Do I hear a second?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, we'll adjourn.